Lord be with you. I was thinking as we were reading through the book of Acts, how it is that, um, Paul and the early church were living in a pre-Christian, pre-churched society. They didn't have standing in the society. They didn't have, all the things that we used to have, 70 years ago in a churched society in Christendom. And then as we've been reading, I noticed, oh, wait, Paul was in some ways living in a churched culture. If you consider Judaism to be a church culture, these were the people of God. They were there of long standing. And so Paul was a cultural insider with the Jews. He says in Acts 22, I am a Jew born in Tarsus in Cilicia, but I was brought up in this city, the city of Jerusalem, the Holy Land, the city of David. He was educated at the feet of Gamaliel, the great Gamaliel. This is high status stuff, being educated by Gamaliel, according to the strict manner of the law of our fathers, being zealous for God, as all of you are this day. Paul can make the claim with the Jews of being a cultural insider. And yet, notice what happens. He was persecuted by the Jews everywhere he went. They were constantly following him around. So when Paul returns to Jerusalem in Acts 21, James says to him, you see, brother, how many thousands there are among the Jews of those who have believed. They are zealous for the law, and they have been told about you, that you teach all the Jews who are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, telling them not to circumcise their children or walk according to our customs. And so this is just not true. But yet Paul was at risk of being persecuted by Jewish Christians. Paul was a cultural outsider somehow among his own church by Messianic Christians. There was a conflict and there was a tension because Paul was moving the gospel out into Gentile territory and proclaiming that you could become Christians without becoming a Jew. And this measured up for conflict as you had those who were still trying to hold on to their old church culture. And they weren't willing to embrace what God was doing that was new. So I'm hoping that's resonating with you because this is a continual conflict I've had in the church for as long as I've been a part of it. Are we willing to embrace what God is doing that's new, or are we still holding on to what's old, like the Jews did with Paul? But Paul was also a cultural outsider with the Gentiles. So he was dealing with a pre-Christian, pre-churched culture, much like what we're dealing with. We're dealing with church people who are enculturated and at the center of their cultural religion. But we're also dealing with cultural outsiders to whom we're called to bring the gospel. And so this is what those people said about him. Acts 16, they advocate customs that are not lawful for us as Romans to accept or practice. In Athens in Acts 17, what does this babbler wish to say? Others said, he seems to be a preacher of foreign divinities. Notice that there's no common ground here, that Paul's able to bring the gospel to them. He has to work very hard to establish common ground. And so we're caught in this tension as well that Paul had of, he was trying to reach Jews who wanted to keep their Jewishness on the one hand, and he was trying to reach Gentiles on the other hand, while being attacked by Jewish Christians and Jews as well, who didn't want to give up their culture. And so Paul was battling to bring the gospel to all cultures, all people, and being attacked by both groups. And so that's sometimes how I feel, not to be all self-righteous, but my point being is, hey, we're all in this together. And so let's bring the gospel to everyone, right? All right, God's peace.